And they're going to go tempo here and push it in.
First and goal, they try to shove Hurts over the end zone, waiting for a signal. He's in, touchdown, Eagles for the lead. Butker up, got it. Here we go. Hurts has all day. Now some rushers come. Going to throw it as far as his arm can take it, which is well short. And the Kansas City Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
This is nothing but that sports talk.
The Super Bowl is coming and gone with the Kansas City Chiefs coming out on top again as I welcome to this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk with Rafique Louison alongside former Fordham softball player. Now she's an arena host for Fordham men's basketball, and she also works for CNBC. Gigi Speer, welcome to the show.
Rafique, thank you so much for having me. Nothing But That Sports Talk, iconic title for this, and what a way to jump in with a great introduction. So happy to be here and to discuss anything sports.
Yeah, discuss a lot of day sports, and well, for the past few years, I already mentioned it. Before we get to Super Bowl talk, let's just talk about how you got to get the in-arena host job and what you love about it up until this point.
Yeah, well, you mentioned I played softball at Fordham, and I didn't realize this at the time, but the more I'm talking to people who work at Fordham now, like the former director of marketing, John Anselmo, he'll tell me that I was on his radar ever since he saw us play. You know, I was a really vocal person when I played, and when we were on the bench and cheering for our players and stuff, at bat, on defense, everything, I was always there loud. And so I think then that was a lot of practice, and I didn't know it, but it was a lot of practice at getting a crowd, which to me was just my teammates, hyped up and ready to go. So when they decided they wanted an arena host for the games with no COVID restrictions, they reached out to me, and I had actually reached out to them asking if they needed an MC for when ASAP Ferg came and performed at Fordham. I was ready. I'm like, let me introduce Ferg. I'll be ready to go. I got you. I'll hype everybody up. They said they went and they got a professional person. I'm like, okay, respect. I got to build my way up. But they asked me to do the basketball season last year. And then this year I'm doing the basketball season again. Men's and women's games, both teams rocking the A10, top 3 in the conference for both those teams. So it's a great year to be in Fordham and continue to be a fan, even though I don't go there anymore.
Exactly, and I'm just glad that I got to cover a Fordham game and witness you rise to fame. Well, I mean, obviously you're working for CNBC, but witness you actually doing the in-arena hosting, because I remember when I went today and we didn't have any of that, but right now they do, and they're literally you're literally doing everything an arena host is supposed to be doing. You could be doing it for the New York Liberty and Brooklyn Nets one of these days, or the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks need an in-arena host, let's be honest. Anyway, let's just talk about the preparation with game in and game outs.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I'm going to be clipping that. I know you record these, so I'll clip that and I'll send it out to the Knicks and the Nets. Hopefully they get back to me and they say they don't need Ali Love anymore at Barclays, so I'll be ready to go. But the preparation is great. It all starts with the team at Fordham, and the whole marketing crew and in-game crew is amazing. They brought in a new assistant director of athletics, Ailish Devine, and she's a former collegiate athlete. She is just so quick, and she'll write up the scripts. So for the entire game, there's a script that the DJ follows, I follow, the video board people follow, and everybody who's doing the on-court operations follows. So we're all on the same page because of that. So that's super helpful. And then of course, it's a whole team effort, the entire athletic department, the sponsorship people, making sure that I plug them, because that's how the school makes money, and that's how we get people coming back, and not only fans, but we keep really good athletes and coaches coming back, which is huge. So it's the entire team. And then for me personally, a lot of the times I am coming right from work, like you mentioned at CNBC, coming from Jersey, and then I'll make my way back to Fordham, a very familiar route at this point. So that's not the problem. And there really is no problem. It's just making sure that I can transition from working a 9 to 5 to going and doing something that I'm super passionate about. And then also on top of that, doing what I like to do, which is the beat reporting mindset, which you love and you're so good at too, is all right, yeah, I'm going to be there. And like, I really don't need to know who we're playing at all. At no point do I say the opposing team's name. But for me, I want to be prepared because I want to do the team's justice. At the end of the day, you want the crowd hyped up because you want the team to do well. So I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to know the stats. I'm going to know as much as I can personally about how important this game is, because every game is a very serious opportunity for the team. And I take my job super serious. So yeah, I'll lock in. I'll usually stop at Starbucks on the way and see if the people remember me, if they'll hook me up with something. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I usually do make sure I at least, get a little bit of fuel, and then I just get locked and loaded, and memorizing the stuff is kind of second nature at this point. And I find it really, really fun.
You see, you brought up something about getting to know the players and getting to know the teams that the Fordham Rams are playing. I mean, that is kind of important, by the way. But I mean, no matter what hosting position that you have. But anyway, it's good to maintain that, because you're giving back to what you learned during your time at Fordham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a huge quote that's circulating ever since they got Kyle Neptune for the men's side, and then he left, and now Ergo's killing it. And of course, the women's team has always been dominant. But for me, as an outsider perspective, because I didn't play basketball, the quote that was always circulating was, "A rising tide rises all ships." So if the rising tide could be a great basketball program, which is looking like we are this year at least, that could raise up all the other teams on campus. There's 22 teams, and each team deserves recognition and deserves fans at the games. And if Fordham could turn a profit at games for having it be Rose Thrill and attracting so many people to come and to buy tickets, spend their hard-earned money, and want to enjoy themselves at a Fordham game, I'm all for that, because then it gives back to the entire athletic community at Fordham. And it's not a big athletic school. Like, we have to acknowledge that there's very few teams that are super good. And so to be a really good academic institution and athletic institution is pretty tough. And it looks like we're managing to do both those things across numerous sports. So yeah, you mentioned it. It's like, it's a super fun position to be in now that I'm on the outside and I'm not an athlete. I don't have as much skin in the game, but it's more like, I'm going to do it. I'm comfortable there. And then also every team deserves a little bit of recognition. So if I could do that a little bit, I will.
Exactly. You know what? I was so honored to actually go up to Fordham, not just to watch you kill it as in arena host, but also watch your former teammate, Maria Travel Piece, be a sideline reporter. Oh yeah, and I got to do some videography, and then well, as you saw from today's cover of the WNBA, I'm doing a lot of virtual press conferences. This is my first. That was the first time during the COVID era, post-COVID era. We're transitioning out of it, I should say, that I get to interview these Fordham players like literally in person at a press conference. Like Khalid Moore and Quincy Berry, those guys are literally killing it for Fordham. They're the reason why they have their first 21 season in over 3 decades.
It's a crazy time to be a Ram. Like Ergo says, it's a great day to be a Ram, and that goes for many days on Fordham campus. And look at you, there's not enough hours in the day to do everything you're doing. And you're coming back, you're seeing WFAN people, you're seeing Maria Travel Piece kill it on the sideline. She's so knowledgeable, and the fact that she does so many different things. You talk to her, she has her hand in so many different pots. Rutgers in-game host. She's traveling all throughout the Northeast doing what she's doing. And she's now doing a sport that she didn't play. Like, that's so tough. She is doing so many sports that aren't softball, and now we're in softball season. So I'm sure she's going to pick up opportunities there. And yeah, it's super impressive. And I think it's awesome that you came back and that they set up that press conference, because what Ergo mentions all the time, at least for his players, is he wants to make sure that Quisenberry, maybe Khalid Moore, they're ready to take the next steps if they want to play professionally. So being ready to talk to media, I think, is a huge thing. And it also helps all the media on campus. Like, we both did WFAN radio together, and we know how awesome it was to have opportunities in New York. But if we could have those opportunities and you don't even have to leave the campus as a student, I know we both don't live there anymore, but and you never did, but like, you always made it happen, and you were, on campus, and there's so many opportunities to get your reps.
101s.
Oh my gosh. You have to just know all these different things. And I think it's amazing to capitalize off the product that is basketball. and men's basketball now too. You mentioned 20 win season, and they have the most wins in the conference, and not the most conference wins, otherwise they'd be in first, but they're the only team with 20 wins in their conference. And I think that is an incredible feat. And for me, the men's team was never something that we looked up to go to. You know, it was always the women's team rocking the house, you know, almost beating Notre Dame my freshman year to a sold out crowd, and all the success that they're having this season. They just lost by 1 point to UMass, who won it all last year. The women's team shows up every season and is always so fun to watch with how many key pieces they have. So it's great that the men's team now has something that could match that, or, you know, like be something in their own right that is fun to watch purely.
Exactly. And obviously Stephanie Gately is not there anymore, but the new coach that you interviewed, I mean, I watched your interview with that new coach. She seems very knowledgeable. What can you tell me about her background in sports?
Oh, let me tell you. Yeah. Candace Green, she is listed as the interim head coach for Fordham Women's, and this is her first season as a head coach, and she's doing a great job. She said she inherited a really senior staff, which helps a lot, and she jokes so much about how old her team is, you know, joking that one of the players already has 2 kids, and Caitlin Downey, which she doesn't, but she gets along with the players so well. She was an Fordham assistant for a couple years. She was the captain. I think she played at Colgate. Yeah, she played at Colgate. She had some crazy major that was super complicated. Like maybe it was psychology or biology, something science that you're like, how are you a captain, point guard of your team? And then you were a great academic weapon as well. And you could see that in the way she coaches. She could just handle so many different things. Nothing really phases her. And I think that the best part of her is that she's filling the role. It's a huge void left with Stephanie Gately gone. You mentioned it's so tough for Fordham women's basketball to see that absence, but she's making it her own. I think that's the most impressive thing I've seen out of her this season. And she lets the team do what they need to do. She's comfortable with all of them. She's interacts with her staff really well. She has Lauren Holden, a former Fordham basketball star, on her team. And they all collaborate so well. If you ever watch their games, it's like all the coaches are in the huddle and they're all having so many different things to point out to their teams. You know, like Anita Jennings will handle the post players, for example. Lauren will talk to the guards. And then everybody down the roster, even those who don't get that many minutes, are just in it. And from the moment tip-off begins to after the game ends, and they do so many community service things too. They always interact with young kids, trying to get more kids watching Fordham games and hopefully playing at the higher level. So yeah, Candace Green, in conclusion, is a beast. She's killing it. And I think that we can expect to see a lot of good coming out of the Fordham women's team, continued success. And I'm going to knock on wood after this interview, but they only lost by 3 points to UMass in playoffs last year, you know, so it's a nail biter of a game. And so I think that it's going to be so fun to keep watching them go and play UMass again. They're ready.
Yeah, I know we're ready. And we're also ready to introduce our new special guest. We are in the presence of WFAN royalty, Gigi Spears. I would like you to meet Danielle McCartan. You can listen to her on WFAN, and she's a special guest on your friend Kelly Bryant's documentary. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Hey, wow, lots of connections here. Thanks for having me. So wait a second, I got to ask you, I'm known for being a New York fan, right? But you've got a Cavaliers hat, jersey, and a Knicks hat? How does that work?
Listen. I'm paying homage to LeBron James for the legacy. Didn't I tell you we were going to talk about him in today's show? Didn't I say in the email?
Yeah.
Right, Daniel, but come on now. I mean,
No, I'm just wondering, because I didn't see the number from where it is. All I see is
23. You know the king. This is where he started.
I mean,
I
sure.
know. As a Knicks fan and a Nets fan, you're tired of watching them torch our Knicks. I know. I get the feeling. But LeBron was my favorite player ever since I started watching basketball in high school. But we'll get to that in a minute. I mean, me and Gigi, we were just talking about Fordham sports, and I don't know if you're familiar with Fordham outside of Kelly Bryant's not interviewing you for your documentary. I watch you when you talk about Title IX and women in sports. I mean, what was it like to actually helping a Fordham alum, among other students, reach their niche to get to where you are?
I didn't go to Fordham though.
I mean, I know you didn't go to Fordham, but helping them out, like, but actually being on that lady's document, Kelly Bryant's documentary, who happens to be Gigi Spears' friend.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to connect with women in sports. I mean, it's just there's so few of us in it. So when I saw the message come through, I was like, yeah, man, I'm in. When? Tell me when and where, and I'm there. So just building community and meeting people, like-minded people that just happen to be women, and it's always a good thing. It's always good to connect and network like that.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, now that we're done talking about Florida, we can definitely talk about what you like. How do you get started getting into journalism? First of all, Danielle.
It's a long story. I was just telling somebody else this story. I'm a teacher during the week, so that's why we have to do this kind of later at night. And I was I was in college. I was a senior, first semester senior. And I had met all my requirements. All I needed were just credits. So then what I did was I took a sports media course just because it sounded interesting, whatever, 300 level course on journalism, whatever. They let me in. Okay, fine. And the professor was like, you're pretty good. Did you ever think of making this into a career? And I was like, no, I'm student teaching in January. So like, no. And he was like, all right, I'll come to my office hours next week. And my son works for Real Sports on HBO. I'm sure you know it. And I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, I'll set you up with my son next week. Just come. And so, okay. So I went early to class by myself, knocked on the door, and there was nobody there. I knocked again, no answer. I was like, all right, let me just get to class and just go to class. And then never said anything again about it. So like 4 years into teaching, I was like, you know what if? Like, I want to pursue this. I never want to think what if. So yeah, kind of just I leveraged social media a little bit, sent some DMs, and fast forward to here we are. That's how it started, though.
Danielle, it's so nice to know you're a real person too. Like, I was watching the documentary, I'm like, this is like too good to be true. And I listened to one of your podcasts too, where you talked about your story, and it's like so sick to hear what you did and how you just made it happen. You were saying like you just bought a tripod on Amazon, cheapest video recorder you could find, and you just made it happen, going to like whatever events you could. Yeah. And I like that for me, that's so inspiring to hear, because I'm like, I'm starting, like I just graduated. I know you've been doing it for a while and you're killing it at the fan. And like, I got to start listening to you more, because Rafique actually reintroduced me to you after Kelly's documentary. So the fact that I know you're real and you're like I know you're like
WFAN. Emmanuel Barry works at WFAN. You know that.
Yeah, he does. I know Emmanuel. Yeah.
Great dude.
Yeah, I work with them, and I even did. I kind of work with them on the download at Fordham University as well. Me and Gigi went to Fordham. Well, I went there as a grad student, but I get my bachelor's at NYU Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, so I always look at and on the fan when people call in, when I'm working, it's John in the Bronx, this guy here, this guy over there, and it's like I get very few female women that call in. I got I would say the past month, 2 different women, and that's a lot. That's like a lot. So I mean, if you just wanted to call in and just we don't know each other though, but if you call in and you want
yeah, okay,
that's then you could do it like that, and you can use the Odyssey app and you can kind of tape it, and then put it out there. So
got you. Yeah, you don't still have that 3 to 6 a.m. slot, right? You have something a little bit.
Yeah, I was 2 to 6 for a really long time, and now I'm just, I guess I'm 9 to 1. So I guess a shift earlier, which
I've been listening.
A difference, because when you get 8 hours of sleep and you're getting home at 3 or 4 in the morning versus when you get home at 2 in the morning, you could get a full Sunday out of it at least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now to continue the conversation, well, since we're on the subject of women in sports, this is a question for both of you. Why is women in sports so important to sports culture as a whole? Starting with you, Danielle.
I just think I guess I'll go twofold here. One, it's just obviously different perspective, right? You bring a different perspective just based on your life experiences to a conversation about the Knicks or about LeBron James or whatever. And 2, it's kind of like, well, all you see is men on TV. All the athletes are men. So I might have a really big guest from the New York Liberty coming on my show.
Hey, now.
Yeah, so they've said
a newly acquired guest?
No, a drafted guest that's still a huge deal.
Gotcha.
They've said yes. So all I'm waiting for is they just said closer to the season start. I guess she's on vacation. I don't know where she's doing, but that's part of it. Like I'm trying to now incorporate that into my show, which my demographic is men. But okay, but now you know a little bit about this particular really good player on this team. Maybe you'll be more interested to tune in and go when you scroll past it on TV and you're like, oh, wait, instead of watching cornhole, let me watch WNBA and see what's up with that. So I guess for me, the mission's kind of twofold.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like for me too, it's interesting because I have such a different perspective on it. Like I'm such a huge, I know you played sports in high school as well. And like, it's interesting when you say like what you see on TV, who's playing sports is men. Cause like, yeah, that's the people who are getting the broadcast rights. You know, everybody's tuning into the big game and we all know what that means. But I think for me, like, I love to go out of my way to watch the women's sports games because everybody always says it's like a certain style of play that's like more natural to the rules, like how the women's basketball is the way basketball should be played is what people say. But to me, it's just super exciting. I'm like, I want to go to Liberty games because like they're so good, especially they're going to be good this year.
You think they're going to be good this year as well? You see who they picked up?
Did I
see? Super team.
It's a super team. Hell yeah.
It's way too good. Yeah, no, I'm actually scared. And I'm like, I wish I was still like reporting on the game so I could go to more. But yeah, anyway, I feel like women in sports is so important because if we're talking about women in like broadcast sports, it's a whole new perspective, like Danielle said, and they're usually right. You know, like you will have women's, like you're all about your facts, Danielle. And like I think that's the thing about women in broadcasting, for example, is like they're over prepared. You know, it's not just a hot take to have a hot take. It's like a really, really analyzed take, and they're not just going to say it because you're a little scared of sounding wrong. You don't want John from Brooklyn or Joey from the Bronx or whatever to call in and call you out. So yeah, I think women in sports is super important too, because even like on the NBA on TNT show, it's like, wait, like Michaela or no, who's on it now?
Candace Parker, didn't he?
Candace Park is on it sometimes, and like former WNBA players, and like I'm blanking on names, but either way, it's just like they'll have this perspective and it's like, oh, this is so cool. We're just not used to it. So I think the more people get used to it, it's like getting used to women playing sports and then talking about sports. I think it's just fun. Why not?
Well, one of the reasons why I did not play softball in college was because I'm like, all right, well, I'm in a small school in New Jersey, and where do I have to go? Like there's no professional league. I'm not making the Olympics. I'm good, but I'm not making the Olympics. Like, whereas like a baseball player maybe could get found out by a scout that lives in the area. You never know, you know? So I didn't play in college, and I don't regret it, but you know, maybe if there was somewhere for me to go, maybe I would have pursued it.
Exactly. 100%. So I think like the more we give space to women's sports and like allow them to capitalize on their talent, they're going to have more little girls being like, all right, cool, I'll keep playing this. Like that drop off at like 13 years old won't be as common, I don't think, as time goes on.
Yep, it's a huge drop off, actually. Yeah,
exactly. And as I mean, as I reach out to you, I saw you had your own print publication where you cover almost all the your local teams, and you even got to cover some Liberty games during days up in Westchester where they were trash. And it's like, what's that experience like being the independent you are while working your way towards WFAN?
Yeah, that was I'll never forget it. I played when I was in rec basketball when I was a kid. I was on the purple team, the Mystics.
Oh my God.
So I was on the Mystics, and I still had the t-shirt actually. And that was the first locker room that I was ever in, was the Washington Mystics. And Elena Deladon is standing right there. I'm like, whoa, like this is cool. So that I kind of learned how to work a locker room at that point. And you know, it was, and now I'm in Yankees locker rooms, and they're all the same. It's like the players are going about doing their thing. And it's like, I don't know, just being able to have had access to New York Liberty, especially in that capacity, and just being there. And of course I went to the Liberty after, but the Mystics opened first. And I don't know, it was just something I'll never forget. It was like, you know, here I am playing on the Mystics as a fourth grader. And here I am, my first locker room I was ever in was the Mystics. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, back when the Mystics were relevant and they were championship. That's a championship season, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just so tough. I mean, I know it was so tough covering the Liberty at that time. They were bad.
Yeah, but it was fun. It doesn't matter. It was fun. You know, you meet the players, you get their stories, and you're there and you're part of it. I met Adam Silver there. I interviewed Adam Silver in the Westchester County Center about the inequities in the travel. That was that was when the New York, the Las Vegas Aces got stranded overnight somewhere, and it was relevant. It was like happened 2 days before that. And I went up to him and I was like, "Can I ask you a question?" He was like, "Sure." He won. I think he told me one. I said, "Okay." So I hit him with that, and he was like a little bit taken aback, but I was like, "I don't care. I'm shooting my shot, man. I'm doing this." So yeah, so I still have that audio somewhere, but yeah.
Oh my God, girl, pull that
I
up.
know.
It is so relevant. It's relevant every season, I guess, but like,
Yeah.
come on, let it rip now, I think.
Yeah, shoot your shot and what happens, and
Yeah,
it worked.
exactly. You know what? Just a pause for a minute. If you want to listen to Danielle McCartan, all you gotta do is whenever she's on, just follow her on social media so you can know when she comes on WFAN to talk her. Pardon my French. Talk her nonsense, because she talks a lot. Trust me. I listened to her when she rants about the Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant trades. I listened to her when talking about the Mets. I listened to her talk about the New York Knicks as the Knicks are playing during that time. Like, seriously, she dropped a lot of New York sports knowledge. Like, what we talk about the whole development of getting to know these New York teams, Danielle.
Yeah, I mean, it's like she said, you always have to be over prepared. You don't want Joey in the Bronx saying, "Well, you're wrong," because in some eyes, I already have strike one. In some eyes, for me, it's like, you're a woman, you don't know anything about sports, and
stop it. Women know a lot of more sports than you think. You just gotta have a conversation.
Well, yeah, sure, you're willing to. Others are not. They see your picture coming up on the upcoming shows, and they're like, "Yeah, no, it's not for me." So that's also purposely why, like, I haven't declared myself an Islanders fan, because that's another strike, so I just want to play it right down the middle, be unbiased. And you know what, I feel that's how it should be. Then you get accused of homerism and all that. No, I'm right down the middle. I call it as I see it. The Brooklyn Nets were a disaster. And I actually said that the Liberty were going to be the team to win a championship there before the Nets.
The Nets do have a winning record, like they were 10 games above 500 when they did those trades. That's how stupid they were for making that trade. All because Kyrie Irving didn't get the contract that he wanted. You only played half your games in total throughout the 3 years, 3 or 4 years you were there. What do you think is going to happen? You don't deserve a long-term contract.
In the 4 years that Kevin Durant was there too, I know the first he was injured, but he still signed on and collected some money. He only played in 42% of his games. So let's not always just get on Kyrie Irving. There's more to this. So yeah. But you have to research that. I did the math. I did the calculations on my thing, and yeah, I had to know that, and people are kind of like shocked to know it if that way, So yeah, you got to know your stuff for sure.
And Gigi, while we're on the subject, what you thought about the Kyrie Irving trade and Kevin Durant trades out of Brooklyn to the Mavericks and Suns, respectively?
I mean, I think you wake up to any blockbuster news like that, you're like, wait, what is happening right now? And how's this going to change the whole landscape? Like, everybody's so in on the Suns now, but we got to give some credit to the Nuggets. I think that's a different podcast episode to actually go predictions route. But when I was a beat reporter for the Nets, and Danielle, I don't think I have or Rafique too, you guys with the photographic memories, super impressive. But for me, it was more like the theme of the whole season. Last year, I was beat reporting in Barclays, and it was like, oh, we're pretty good. We're all December. We're one of the best. We're the best team in the East all December. And then, come January, it's more drama. They get rid of James Harden eventually. And it was just too much. And there were certain players that you would always see pick up the slack. It was so random, but Nick Claxton, Patty Mills, girl, I thought that they were awesome and great team players. But
yeah,
the whole narrative at that time was how KD was picking up the whole slack of the team and how it was a one-man show. But with the quick maths you just did, 42% of the games over 4 years, I think it's so tough to have great morale as an organization, especially an organization that had so much hype around them, a big three super team at one point. So I think we have to see how it plays out in the future. But for what we have right now, I just think if I was a real Nets fan, I had to be because I was there, but now I'm kind of removed from it. And I'm I'll be super upset, you didn't get the juice squeeze out of Kyrie, you would expect to get from a superstar. And now you have to wave him goodbye and wish him best of luck in Dallas and see how they share the ball, him and Luka. So, I mean, I was super surprised on one hand, but on the other hand, I wasn't, because it just seemed like the team chemistry wasn't there at the end of the day. And that's why they couldn't win important games down the stretch.
Exactly. And that's the reason why they only won one playoff series, and they would have had two at least if Kevin Durant wore a smaller shoe. Let's be real, Danielle. You seen it happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got big feet too. I can sympathize with him. Yeah, but this close, and you
That
never.
one
What
year,
if?
you were this close. Even when Kyrie Irving and James Harden get hurt, you were this close to make it out of the second round finally.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you would have won a championship if they had stayed healthy and COVID never happened. Let's be honest. That's why we're at this and this. And you know what? Well, and you know what? To continue the conversation of basketball, like, why don't you like? What is your state of the New York Knicks? Your overall impression, and do you think they're a playoff team this year, Daniel?
I mean, they play in the East. It's going to be really tough. I think maybe a play-in game. That's the unbiased thing. I mean, I think you're hoping for a play-in game. I think. I mean, look at the East. Are they really going to beat the Bucks? Are they really going to beat even the Nets now?
They did split with the 76ers.
Yeah, but the 76ers coming off a back-to-back. Yeah, it's a great win. It counts, right? Counts in the win column, but let's try it again.
Who you got tonight?
Oh, where is it? At the Garden?
At the Garden.
It's at the Garden. Oh, this is hard because floating through my mind right now is like how well the Nets played the other night together with their new coach, and I mean with their new players for the coach. If it's a Knicks home game, I'm gonna go with the Knicks tonight.
Yeah, but the Nets own the New York Knicks the past few years. Let's be real. Remember the 25-point collapse against the Brooklyn Nets last year when Brooklyn was depleted?
Yeah.
Seriously. I don't think that can happen.
I know. I'm just wondering about the new players and how they're going to gel together. That's all. So that's why I'm taking the home team.
Considering what they ain't new to the Brooklyn Nets. You saw what he's done.
No, they got their starting lineup the other night was 4 out of 5 guys were new guys, new acquisitions. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Such a Knicks thing to do, I think.
Yeah, very interesting point. I mean, well, why don't you talk about like as far as being the sports fan that you are, like what are your top 3 New York sporting arenas that you go to for games, Daniel?
I mean, MetLife sucks, but it's the closest, right? So, that I guess. Arenas wise, I did go to UBS Arena once for a UFC fight, and it's beautiful. It's just impossible to get to from here. But so MetLife, 1, I guess, because it's proximity. 2 would be the Prudential Center. They always take care of me over there at the Prudential Center. And Yankee Stadium is also very close. So top 3, I guess. Although Citi Field is beautiful.
Yeah. What about you, Gigi?
Top 3. I would say my home base in my mind is Barclays, just because I was there so many times, and like I got to see some really great games out of the Liberty and out of the Nets. So I put up there just personally, and I didn't mind the commute on that train. So I'm like, I'll hop on the subway and make my way back to Fordham late night. I don't care. Yeah. So I think you have to like it if you're doing that. And then I gotta go Yankees, and then I'll go Mets right after that, because it's always great to watch baseball. Like this past year, I went to a Yankees game. Of course, it was a rain delay one, so I didn't actually get to see any action. But then we went to a Mets game, saw a good game. They had like 3 or 4 home runs that game. I think it was like a super good game for the team out of nowhere. So yeah, I'd go that based off my experiences.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for me, it's obviously the Barclays Center because I'm from Brooklyn, New York, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 2, Madison Square Garden, I guess, and then obviously Citi Field. Those are like my more frequent. I mean, in recent years, those are like my more frequent arenas at baseball fields I go to watch games because they're just entertaining to me. I'm familiar with those areas. Yes, I put the Bronx in the back burner sometimes. I mean, even though I went to school in the Bronx, so I kind of put that in the back burner. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you say, yeah. So yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, but to wrap up this, wrap up the show, like, why don't you talk about your impressions about what are your thoughts on LeBron's legacy, Daniel?
I mean, obviously it goes down in the history books, right? It's just, I hate comparing players of different eras, whether that be Tom Brady versus Joe Montana. It's a completely different era. Like basketball nowadays is all about scoring. I mean, there's very little defense, and I mean, he's going to go down as one of the greatest, obviously. Right. But to get, especially on the fan, when you start talking about people and comparing them from generation to generation. It's just a really slippery slope. The game has changed in any sport. Look at Babe Ruth. You're going to compare him against Aaron Judge? You can't. Babe Ruth wasn't hitting 105-mile-an-hour fastballs, so one of the greatest, of course, LeBron James. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, that wraps up this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. Sorry, that will wrap up this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. Sorry we didn't get to talk about the Super Bowl because obviously I know you ladies have other commitments. Bitch, you're gonna have to wait till next episode to hear my thoughts on the Super Bowl. Even though I started the show off with the highlights of the Super Bowl, well, but that's a conversation for that episode, and you probably may not get to come on it for that one, Danielle and Gigi. I know you got other commitments, and to all the balls out there, get your head in the game.